morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce Karen Hirschausen, who is the Principal Audiologist, Commercial Services for Hearing Australia. She's now going to give us a presentation on the great work that Hearing Australia is doing for many years to support the deaf and hard of hearing in the community. Thanks for coming along, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Karen. I've been an audiologist for quite a long time, so a bit over 27 years now. Graduated from Macquarie University, previous student of a member sitting over here. And I've been working at Hearing Australia now for almost 28 years. I've done a number of different roles within Hearing Australia. I started out as an intern audiologist, moved into doing some specialty work, so in the paediatric area, as well as working with adults with complex needs. I moved into a management role, so managed our Maitland Hearing Centre and our Newcastle Hearing Centre. Then moved into a clinical coach role, which is a mentoring role that we have for our clinicians. We help our clinicians keep up their clinical work, we mentor them, we coach them as well. And I've now recently moved into, for the last 6 years, I've been in the role of Principal Audiologist at Hearing Australia. So I'm really happy to be here to talk through some of the services that Hearing Australia offers. I've got a couple of slides and more than happy to answer any questions along the way as well. So Hearing Australia has been an organisation that's been around for quite a long time. We've had quite a few different name changes. So we've gone through a few different identities. We've been caring for Australians since 1947. I don't know if anybody wants to hazard a guess around what might have happened around 1947 that prompted the government to set up what is now known as Hearing Australia. But around that time, that's when a lot of our veterans were returning from service, and around that same time there was an epidemic of measles and rubella as well. So there was a number of children who were being born with hearing loss. So the government started what was then known as Commonwealth Acoustics Laboratory, and we've gone through a few name changes and now calling ourselves Hearing Australia. So we do help thousands of people every week. We're a national organisation, so we have a number of hearing centres scattered all across the nation, in metro and regional and some remote areas as well. We have visiting sites too, so we've got our permanent centres, and then we often have satellite centres that operate from those permanent centres as well. We have in-person appointments. We also offer telehealth services too, which has been great for some of our more regionally or remote located clients, still allowing them access to a clinician or an audiologist without having to do some really long distance travel. All of our clinicians are professionally certified as well, so they're all members of a professional body. So one of the areas of work that we do is with our paediatric population, so helping our children and young adults. So children who are eligible for services from Hearing Australia receive those at no cost, and if they're needed to be fitted with hearing aids as well, they're provided with those at no cost as well. So these are children who have a long-term or a permanent diagnosed hearing loss. If children don't have a permanent hearing loss but need to be assessed for other reasons, they can either access state government services or they can access our services at Hearing Australia with a fee. One of our core groups of work is our hearing services program work and our adult work. So we support Australian citizens or permanent residents that fall into one of the following categories. So they are people who hold a pension concession card, Department of Veterans Affairs card holders, be that a gold card or a white card with hearing loss, recipients of a sickness allowance from Centrelink, someone who's a dependent on one of those above categories, and serving members of the Australian Defence Force as well. There are some government referred agencies too, so we may have some work from other government agencies that refer specifically to us too. We also provide services. We're one of the key providers in this space of adults with the more complex communication needs. So this will mean adults who have a significant hearing loss, so generally with a hearing loss greater than 80 decibels, so severe or profound. They may have another disability, so that's not necessarily hearing loss related, but it could be having an impact on their communication as well. So clients who have significant vision impairment will often require additional services from us, or another disability that may impact on their ability to communicate as well. With that service, we have funding that allows us to fit a higher level of technology of hearing aid for that group of clients. Also, assistive listening devices as well may come under that program, and the clinicians are upskilled as well. So clinicians who see a complex group of clients have additional training to help assist with their more complex needs. So they'll have additional communication training skills. They'll be a little bit more well-versed in more of some of our more superpowered hearing aids as well, which can be a little bit different to set up for clients. We also have our service for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So this allows us to get out into really remote communities, our outreach program, where we go out and visit Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander communities. We try and do that in a really culturally safe way, and it really allows those clients in those really remote areas to access services a little bit more easily. We've got a bit over 250 outreach centres that we work closely with, and it's really about working within the community. So we liaise really heavily with the Aboriginal medical services in that area, community health workers in that area as well. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people over the age of 55 are also eligible for our services, whether they live in a remote area or in a metro area. So we do have a fairly large workforce, as far as we've got probably over 500 now audiologists on staff. As I said, we offer services through either coming into our hearing centres, through teleservices. We also do a lot of home visit services as well, and that happens out of our over 180 hearing centres across Australia. One of a newer program that is we're launching sort of over the next financial year is our social purpose fund. So that is where we can redirect some of the revenue that we've obtained through doing our commercial work and broaden the scope to have access for services to other groups that may not be getting that access at the moment. We're going to be starting in the First Nations space. So there's a group of First Nations clients in that 26 to 54-year-old bracket that may not have access to services currently, and also some children who are temporary residents as well. So as time goes by, we'll be looking to sort of broaden that work more as well. But kicking off this financial year, so it's a very new service for us. So we're still working out some of the nuts and bolts with that one. So that is probably a sort of an overview of the services that we offer. We are able to offer services to all Australians now. So previously we had services that were centred on the Hearing Service Program clients, so our pension card holder clients and our Veterans Affairs holder clients. We now are able to see all Australians. So if you're not eligible for the Hearing Services Program, you can come and see Hearing Australia under our fee-paying structure. So that's been great. We've now been able to offer our services to all Australians, and that's been a really big focus for us over the last few years. So I will open up the floor to questions. So the Hearing Services Program is a federally funded program that is able to be accessed by pension card holders, Veteran Affairs card holders, some other Centrelink card holders as well. And what that program is that there's a number of providers that are registered for that program. Hearing Australia is one of those providers. If you meet that eligibility criteria, the government sets aside some funding for you to access hearing services from your chosen provider. So what that will mean is services such as having your initial hearing assessment or diagnosis done, then followed up with a hearing aid fitting if you require a hearing aid fitting, or it could be an alternative listening device, so a TV device if a hearing aid is not what you're looking for at that time. And then follow-up services as well, so maintenance of your hearing aid, follow-up appointments as well. So the program does offer clients to access a fully subsidised device. There are a whole range of fully subsidised devices available on the schedule. Those fully subsidised devices will have a set number of features to them. And then clients, if they wish to access higher level technology to have additional features in their hearing aid, such as some more automated features or more noise reduction in their hearing aids, or what you'll see a little bit more talk of these days is artificial intelligence in hearing aids as well. Clients can elect to pay a gap, essentially, to upgrade that technology. So eligible for a fully subsidised device, and then if they feel that they want something extra, or they've got some more complex listening situations that they want to be able to hear a little better in, they can choose if they wish to contribute extra funding. And depending on the range of the funding will depend on what sort of features are available in hearing aids. So usually it will range from around sort of $2,000 extra in funding up to $7,000 or $8,000 extra. So it will vary quite a bit, but the purpose of that initial diagnostic assessment is to really sit down with your clinician and outline what your goals are that you're wanting to achieve with a hearing device, and they will sort of make a recommendation to you. So in order to achieve this particular goal, I would recommend this particular hearing aid for you. And that covers a range of styles of hearing aids as well. So you'll be aware that there's custom in the ear style hearing aids, there's receiver in the ear style hearing aids, and behind the ear hearing aids as well. So covers that sort of full range too. Bluetooth's definitely been a big game changer for a lot of hearing aid users or clients with a hearing loss. So that's fairly standard across the full range of hearing aids now, but we've definitely seen a massive increase in use of Bluetooth technology because it's been a real game changer for people. With our outreach services, we go into those communities. We'll sometimes be seeing a range of children for hearing assessment, or we could be seeing adults as well out in communities. So there's no sort of strict sort of criteria as such, and we'll often have community liaison officers or community workers introduce us to residents or people within that community that they're wanting to have some assessment done. Again, devices would be funded for under the Community Services Program in that circumstance. With our community service obligation work, so that's our paediatric clients, so that's somebody under the age of 26. So 26 does seem an unusual age to be considered still a paediatric client, but the program covers children up to the age of 26, and that means that any of their appointments, hearing aid technology, as well as some assistive technology as well. So within the school system, children might often wear a Roger device or some other wireless communication device so that they can hear their teacher a little bit more clearly, especially, as you know, using wireless communication devices really assists if you're a bit of a distance away from somebody, but also if you're in a noisy environment, and sometimes classrooms can be quite noisy. So those devices are also covered under our community service work. For our federally funded work, the community service work, a complex client still needs to be the holder of a pension card or a Veterans Affairs card. Yeah. They absolutely can, that's right. That changed a few years ago during COVID. And so access to services was a little difficult during COVID times. And at that time we wanted to remain open, which we did. And so it's sort of around, 5-6 years ago. Sometimes you may or may not know that you've fitted into that complex criteria, but generally you'll be provided with a clinician that has the extra level of training. So if you're not sure, you can always ask, are you a complex client clinician? Have you had that training? Generally, the Hearing Services Program, if you have not been a Hearing Australia client and you go to another provider, they assess you and find that you do fit the complex criteria, they will notify you that you fit that complex criteria. And then you've got a choice. You can choose to remain with your current provider, or you can choose to have your services transferred across to Hearing Australia. So with a remote microphone, which is often a system where one person's wearing a microphone and that sound is then transmitted through to hearing aids, where the receiver is either located on the hearing aid or is perhaps worn on the body. For our clients who fit the complex criteria, those wireless communication devices are generally funded as part of that program. For our Hearing Services Program clients or our fee-paying clients, that would be a device that they can purchase outside of the program. The Hearing Services Program doesn't fund those particular devices. They will fund hearing aids, but if somebody wishes to purchase a wireless communication device, they can do so. There's a range of devices as well, so it could be dependent on the manufacturer type of hearing aid that you have, might have a more compatible wireless communication device for you. And then there are other wireless communication devices that can be worn by a number of different hearing aid users, so it doesn't really matter which manufacturer your hearing aid comes from, and they can be adjusted as well. So definitely accessible, depending on which client group you fit into. That may be a fully funded device, or it will be a device that you purchase yourself. You can absolutely walk into any of our hearing centres and arrange an appointment. We also have web booking as well, so online booking too. So through our hearing.com.au website, you can book yourself in for an appointment at your closest hearing centre. A lot of our communication now is done via SMS as well. We still have some clients who do use the National Relay Service, and that's certainly something that we can do. But a lot of clients now are using SMS as an alternative for contact. So we absolutely walk in, no need to make a prior booking. We can absolutely help you when you come in, or as I said, the online functionality is something that's definitely becoming much more popular for people to do from the luxury of their own home as well. Rehab is one of those skill set, I think, that has waxed and waned a little bit, and we definitely take pride in our training in that oral rehab space. And absolutely, if you're a clinician who's going on to see complex clients, that is a really big component of the training that you do. So there's a lot of communication training and rehab as well. If you're a hearing services program client, you can access rehab style appointments as part of your program. So if you've been fitted with a fully subsidised hearing aid, within the first 12 months, there's 2 rehab appointments that you can access as part of that program. And that is, generally it's not focused, it takes the focus actually away from the hearing aid. The purpose of the program is to really focus on counselling and strategies and tools that you can learn as a client and teach a communication partner as well to aid in communication. So it's actually not about adjusting the hearing aid. Some of the appointments in the program are sort of focused on fitting a hearing aid and then making adjustments if it needs to be done. But then there's the rehab component, which is actually you don't touch the hearing aid. The hearing aid has been set and should be working as best as it could. And the focus is really on communication strategies. And so you may even find as part of those appointments, you get a little bit of homework to do. But it's really, and we really encourage communication partners to come along to any appointment, not just a rehab appointment. But we feel like it's really important to bring your key communication partner with you along to appointments, because some of that counselling and sort of strategies involves not just the person living with the hearing loss, but involves those key communication partners as well. Something we absolutely encourage. A lot of our materials that we send out sort of before you might come in for an appointment definitely encourages you to bring a communication partner with you. Doesn't necessarily need to be a family member, but somebody that's really key in your life that you communicate with regularly. Yep. Really, I find it really helps not just the person that's sitting there, but the communication partners definitely learn a lot as well. Definitely something that I would encourage you to have as a goal when you're speaking with your clinician around goal setting is think about some of the particular goals, and knowing that we may not be able to achieve that completely with technology alone. What are some other strategies that I can learn along the way? When you're thinking about goals, you might be thinking about sort of things like, I want to hear the television at a lower volume, or I want to be able to make a phone call with my GP because I have regular GP appointments. Really thinking about it just not in the way that a hearing aid or other technology will address that. Hearing aids, as we know, are not always the complete answer. Yeah. And there's definitely some skill set that we can help people with as well. Education about hearing loss in general also is something that I'm quite passionate about too. As you know, lots of people definitely take their hearing for granted, and until you start to notice difficulties with your hearing, it's very hard to explain to people how important your hearing actually is. So prevention of hearing loss is absolutely a topic that I'm really passionate about as well, especially now with more and more younger people using headphones, earbuds, listening to music with the thing stuck in their ears. We've done a good job in Australia of putting in rules and protocols in place for workplace safety, but not so much that recreational safety as well. But also just in general, communication sort of strategies and tactics they have an impact for everybody, whether you're working with somebody who has a hearing loss or not. Good communication and strategies and tactics, I think, is just really great for anybody. They can be a hard thing to learn, though. We do get into our habits of walking away when we're talking to somebody, or being at a larger distance than what is ideal for communication, and helping people to break those habits. It's habit breaking, so it's one of those things you do need to work quite hard at. But I think there is still some education to be had for the general population about access to services, because there definitely are people are still not aware that there might be a federal funded program such as the Hearing Services program that they can access. And I do believe the Hearing Services program we're working on trying to promote that program a little bit more broadly, but that's also partly our job as well. And we still work very closely with NAL as well too. So we have a really strong partnership with NAL as well. The 15-minute hearing check is really a screening check. It's really just to identify for somebody who's may or may not be sure whether they need help for their hearing. We can do a really quick screening assessment to sort of indicate, yes, I think this is something that's worth pursuing, or at this stage it looks like your hearing is not changed. But following that, if we did find that somebody had either not passed a screening test, or they even might have passed a screening test but were saying that they were still having significant difficulties in certain areas, we would recommend a longer consult with a clinician to really understand what is the underlying cause perhaps. Sometimes with a screening test, in 15 minutes, you've only got time to check a few key frequencies. Obviously, a full diagnostic test will expand out on those frequencies. So it may not be that a hearing loss is showing up in the key frequencies just yet, but we can see that the really high frequencies have started to decline. So that could be an indication that things might be changing for that person, and certainly talk to them about some strategies as well. And certainly counselling around keeping their hearing safe too. So it's very much the same sort of process for a fee-paying client, is that if they can choose to have a screening assessment done, or they could choose to go straight into a full diagnostic assessment. They'll spend some time with the clinician, understand what is happening with their hearing. If there is a hearing loss that needs to be addressed, what are the goals that client is trying to achieve? And then given that they're fee paying, what is their budget for technology, if they want to access technology, and then we will sort of recommend something based on all of those different things. But they would still have a fitting appointment and a follow-up appointment and any aftercare that's needed as well. They do with us. So part of the package that we have for our fee-paying clients is if they're purchasing a hearing aid, there'll be several appointments following that purchase of a hearing aid that will be attached to that with no. We would always offer a follow-up appointment at no cost to the fitting of a hearing aid. But then aside from that, we would offer a number of other follow-up appointments over the next 12 months or 2 years or 5 years as well. Can absolutely access the same sorts of services. We do encourage clients to do a bit of research with their health fund providers as well, to understand whether they've got the ability to access any rebates from their healthcare provider. Obviously, if somebody's under the age of 65 and wasn't aware of NDIS and it looks like they would be eligible for NDIS, we would help them with that process as well. So there are a few different ways that people can access hearing services. So our structure is generally, we'll have a front of house support person within a hearing centre. Depending on how many audiologists there are within that hearing centre, there might be one front of house person or 2 or 3. But part of their training is to also absolutely assist clients with some general questions about hearing and hearing loss prevention, and general inquiries around maintenance of their hearing aids as well. So they can often do some diagnostic work on a hearing aid that's not working. Depending on what's going on wrong with it, it might be an over-the-counter repair that they can assist with. One of the things we're really focusing on at the moment is helping with some Bluetooth connectivity troubleshooting and really trying to upskill our support staff in that space. Sometimes it's the hearing aid, sometimes it's the phone, and it can be quite complex because there's so many different models of phones out there, and then sometimes it's the hearing aid is working fine and as it should be. There's something going on with the phone, and so you do need to be almost an Apple technician sometimes to troubleshoot some of them. So that's an area of focus for us, is definitely upskilling our staff in that space. We do also have some other staff, our community hearing advisors, and their role is to get out into the community and to help with educating people about hearing loss, providing sometimes the 15-minute screening check as well. So you may often see them out in pharmacies or visiting doctors' surgeries to sort of let doctors know about our services and what we can offer. Or they'll be on the hearing bus driving around to different communities as well. They'll often do talks at seniors expos, just around that sort of general who we are, what service we offer, what sort of things we should be looking out for if we think that we might have a problem with our hearing too. And we have our regional tech coordinators, and their role is being responsible for keeping all of our equipment calibrated and up to spec as well. So they do a lot of travelling around. And we have our call centre, which is based in Port Macquarie. So sometimes our phone calls will go through to that staff set that sit in Port Macquarie, and they'll sometimes make some outbound calls as well. If somebody's due for another appointment, they'll make those calls to arrange that appointment with as well. We've got a training package that we can offer nursing homes, and we have done that in a number of nursing homes. Some of the challenges is the high staff turnover in some of the residential care facilities. So having a key member of staff who is really passionate about hearing losses, we've found really is a great collaborative, works really well. We can certainly provide training, and we do. We have training packages for nursing home staff on hearing loss.
Something that they can put on the TV, like a...
Yeah, generally, if they've got somebody on staff who's keen to run a program, we can absolutely help them with that. A key component of it is troubleshooting hearing aids. So we do spend a bit of hands-on time on how to put hearing aids in correctly, how to check that they're sitting where they need to be, how to do some basic sort of wax management, troubleshooting, and even some general communication skills as well. So we absolutely do have that sort of training package. But yeah, the staff turnover has been a bit of a challenge. sometimes better to have a couple of ears listening, because I mean, we all know just in general, when we go to a medical appointment, we only retain a small percentage of the information that's generally provided to us. That includes hearing appointments with clinicians as well. So having that extra set of ears can be really definitely useful. And then sort of following that up with some written collateral as well, or a summary of what's been discussed in the appointment can be really helpful too. Definitely the clinicians would be comfortable in that space, but it's we're working at the moment on definitely upskilling our front of house staff in different areas, and being knowledgeable on different apps and things would be one of those things that we would do. So we've got quite a range of tenure with some of our staff, and so some of our longest term staff would definitely be across a lot of those, and we just need to make sure that within our training programs for our newer staff that we cover all of those things. But yeah, they definitely are there to help, and I see them do a really great job. They will usually, though, if they're not sure, they'll be able to access a clinician. Sometimes the role of the clinical coach that I mentioned that I was doing for a little while, they're definitely a support there and a mentor for not only our clinical staff but our front of house staff as well. On the website, there's some really great, fairly basic instructional videos, things such as why is my hearing aid whistling, or how do I keep my hearing aid safe? So there's, and they're very short, usually under a minute, but really there to sort of help people if they're not 100% sure what they're doing. You can also ring. We've got a telehealth team as well that are available for support too, staffed by clinicians. So one of the things you'll notice with hearing aid technology now, most of the hearing aids will come with an app, and you can actually request help and assistance through the app. And our telehealth team monitor all of those. So if they get somebody asking a query, they're using their hearing aid and they're using the app, and then something's come up, they can send a query via the app. The telehealth team will make contact with them and talk them through it. So yeah, there are a different number of ways. The website is a good place to have a look at for support materials. And we have, quite a few little, very short, nicely produced, and they're not specific to any manufacturer or anything like that. They're very generalized videos, so that it wouldn't matter if you've got a Phonak hearing aid or a Signia hearing aid or a Hearing Australia hearing aid. The advice would cover all of those things. Yeah. When you're getting down into the more nitty-gritty that might be specifics related to your specific hearing aid, that's when we may need to call in the audiologist for assistance there. I think audiology as a career is a fantastic choice, especially in Australia. We are groundbreaking in Australia. We've got the National Acoustics Laboratory. We are world leading. So to be trained as an audiologist in Australia, the training is absolutely top notch. I've worked in the UK as well. I know across the nation, internationally, Australian audiologists are very much held in high regard. And then once you go into the field of audiology, there are a lot of different areas that you can go into. I work with Hearing Australia because my key focus is helping people, but we've obviously got research that needs to be done as well. So that you could go into a research arm, you can go into helping clients on a case, face-to-face basis. Within our organisation, we do have different specialities as well. We've obviously got some people will go into a paediatric speciality, others might go into a complex adult speciality. So there's a whole, range of things to do with audiology, and it's definitely a career that's in demand, and it's a really interesting career as well. I've really enjoyed helping people on a daily basis, get a lot of value from that. And being able to help somebody overcome some communication challenges, or just seeing the difference that some strategies can make to somebody, or they're experiencing a hearing aid for the first time, and they come back and say to you, I can now enjoy the birds that I never heard previously when I'm having my morning cup of coffee, or I was actually able to successfully have a phone call with my daughter the other day. There's no better feeling than that. So I encourage anybody who's interested in audiology to really pursue it as a career. It's been a great career from my perspective. And really interesting as well. Always changing. There's always something new on the horizon.
No other questions. I'd just like to say thank you very much, Karen, for an incredibly informative talk.
My pleasure.
You've pretty much covered all the bases and then some more, so thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me today. It's been a pleasure to meet you all. Thanks. And thanks for all your questions as well.